Good afternoon. I do apologize for being a few minutes late. I hate to be late for anything, but I do apologize. Good afternoon. Since Wednesday, May the 20th, we have seen an 8% increase in confirmed COVID-19 cases here in Baltimore City. As of this morning, the city has 4,492 reported cases, 399 people hospitalized with COVID-19, and 210 deaths. I'm up here as much as possible to ensure our residents I have the most up-to-date and accurate information so they, in turn, can make smart and informed decisions for themselves and their families. We remain focused on continuing to scale up our response to this emergency to ensure residents of our city have the resources and support they need at this time, while continuing to leverage the wealth of medical and public health expertise right here in the city of Baltimore. I want to remind residents that they are encouraged to call their doctor or 211 for coronavirus symptoms screening and to be connected to a physician for assessment. I know we are heading into a holiday weekend, but I want to be clear that Baltimore City is still under a local stay-at-home order for Baltimore City. This means that all residents are required to remain at home unless they have to go out for an essential job or task. The weather is getting warmer, and any other year, I'll be firing up the grill and hosting a cookout, as many of you are probably thinking about doing yourself. But Baltimore right now, we're in the middle of the most serious disease outbreak in a generation. Please, Baltimore, this Memorial Day weekend, do not throw a big party. Keep your celebration small with just the people who live in the house with you. Please believe me, I would love nothing more than to be able to tell our residents that it is safe to resume businesses and other activities. But we're not there, and it would be irresponsible for me to do so. I know I probably sound like a broken record because I keep saying the same message every week, but it's that important. We need everyone to stay home unless you need to go out for an essential reason. If you must go out for an essential reason, everyone should be wearing a mask. This covering isn't for you, it is to protect everyone you come into contact with. It represents that you care about your fellow residents and their well-being. And I want to thank the majority of Baltimoreans who have heeded the warning and followed the guidance. Now I will ask Baltimore City Health Commissioner Letitia Zavasa to update you on our COVID-19 response and our work to support the residents of Baltimore.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mary Young, for your leadership during these difficult times. Let me take a moment to remind residents that Baltimore City remains under a stay-at-home order. Heading into Memorial Day weekend, I know a lot of residents may be thinking about throwing a cookout and bringing family and friends together. And I understand how challenging it can be to spend time apart from your family, especially during a holiday weekend. However, I'm here to remind you that coronavirus is still very present in Baltimore City. Because of the stay-at-home order and the lack of testing availability, we would ask that residents would continue to stay home as we work to expand testing in Baltimore City. This weekend, please, if you're going to have a cookout, make sure it's only for the people that live with you. Large gatherings in the absence of a vaccine with disregard for social distancing and face cloth coverings is one of the most effective ways to spread the disease, strain our hospital resources, and dramatically increase our case counts. For the safety of our city residents, especially our more vulnerable populations, I urge all residents to continue to stay at home unless for essential reasons, and to not go to any cookouts or gatherings outside of the ones that you host for those living in your home this Memorial Day weekend. As a reminder, our contact tracing teams still need to see full participation from Baltimore City residents who have been contacted. Contact tracing is the Baltimore City Health Department's way to inform residents that they've been exposed to coronavirus, as well as to determine what resources the residents need, as well as who they may have been in contact while they were able to spread the disease. On these calls, we also provide critical information about community resources, how to self-isolate, and how to limit disease spread to your family, friends, and loved ones. Please answer the phone when you receive a contact tracing call. Please answer the questions honestly and be sure to provide the information that our contact tracers are asking for. These calls are confidential, and we would never ask residents for their social security number, credit card information, or immigration status. We will leave a voicemail, so please, if you screen your calls, check your voicemail and call us back. Contact tracing remains the best tool the health department has in the absence of a vaccine to reduce the spread of disease, and we cannot be successful unless residents are taking these calls seriously. It is vital that every single resident continues to follow the stay-at-home order as outlined by Mayor Young and stays home unless for an essential reason. It is necessary for every single resident to continue practicing social distancing when out, continue wearing face cloth coverings in public settings, and provide the necessary information to our contact tracers if you are contacted. All of us working together allows for the city to safely move forward and eventually lift our stay-at-home order. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Silvassa. Now I would ask Commissioner Harrison to come up and talk about how BDPD will operate this weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon. The Baltimore Police Department recognizes the seasonality and the challenges that the summer months may present in addressing crime. The department has significant and substantial plans in place for this Memorial Day weekend to address potential violators of the stay-at-home and social distancing orders while simultaneously addressing crime. Despite these challenges, we are working diligently to carry out the directives in order to keep the public safe and to minimize the spread of COVID-19. Each police district has produced a weekend crime plan to implement appropriate staffing, deployment, business checks, and community engagement. Our Social Club Task Force will be investigating and enforcing the executive orders that prohibit the operation of certain business. Additionally, members from the Foxtrot, Mounted Unit, Marine Unit, Youth Services, and the Dirt Bike Task Force will all have an amplified presence over the weekend alongside our patrol and proactive enforcement teams. We will continue to be visible and vigilant over this weekend leading up to the summer months. And once again, have a safe and enjoyable Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now I would like to take a moment and recognize May as Older American Month. In honor of Older American Month, I urge residents to support and celebrate the contribution of Baltimore City's older adults and their mark on the city. Older adult time, experience, and talents benefit family, peers, and neighbors. Whether serving as volunteers in their faith communities or in their own families, older adults make a difference in our city. Caregivers provide indispensable support for our older adults, helping them to thrive and continue to contribute to future generations. COVID-19 has changed all of our lives, but it has not stopped older adults from being the lifeblood of our strong communities. Many older adults are taking care of those others, going above and beyond to do so. If you take care of someone 60 years or older, you can call the Maryland Access Point at 410-396-2273. That's 410-396-2273, who can direct you to a special support service for those over 60. We all need somebody to lean on, and we're all in this together. Now I would like to present this proclamation for Older American Month to Reba Corman, co-chair for the Baltimore City Commission on Aging. There's a bunch of wares, but I just want to present this. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next, I'm excited to announce that 10 Baltimore City manufacturers and organizations were awarded grants to produce personal protective equipment listed on the Maryland Department of Commerce COVID-19 Maryland Critical Needs List. The 10 businesses are Dent Education, those are face shields, Mount Royal Soap Hand Sanitizer, Soul Lab USA LLC Face Mask, Regal Cloths LLC Face Mask, Different Regard Company LLC Face Masks and Isolation Gowns, Open Works Face Shields, Chase Street Accessory LLC Face Masks and Face Shields, Citywide Youth Development Face Masks and Isolation Gowns, Revolution Events Face Masks and Isolation Gowns, Earth Element Soap Work, Hand Sanitizer and Hand Soap. And finally, before I open it up for questions, I would like to make one final plea to the President to revisit his travel plans. Clearly, I just told all residents to stay home and not to go out unless it's for essential jobs or tasks. If they see the president going out for non-essential tasks, why can't they? It's the same reason they shouldn't take untested meds for disease. It's just not smart. So again, I hope the president counsels this trip to Baltimore and instead show true leadership by serving as an example to the people of our country on how to observe the holiday while at home. We'll take a few questions.
President Trump has said that it's important to reopen religious institutions and that if states don't comply, he will override the state's decision. What is your reaction? What is your response?
Well, my reaction is, and I just want to be perfectly honest, I always felt that the church was essential. That's why they're doing what they're doing with virtual, services. They are all on some kind of website, having services right from their church or from their homes where they are. I think the ministers will have to decide for themselves whether they want to protect the safety of their parishioners. And I'm going to leave it up to the ministers. I mean, if the president makes an order that they can do that, I mean, I can't stop it, But I'm going to tell you this, most of the ministers are smart enough to know whether it's safe to open. And most of them will look at safety first, they will look at the data first, and they will adhere to what our health professionals are telling us to do.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. The Baltimore County Executive lifted some restrictions starting this morning. One reason given, the opening of other jurisdictions is posing an additional negative economic impact on businesses. People will simply, he believes, drive to other jurisdictions that are open and leaving the jurisdiction that's closed out of luck, so to speak. What do you say to that? What do you expect, or rather, when do you expect to lift the restrictions here in the city? Well,
right now we have a small business task force that's including some of the business people, and we're going to look at the data, and we're going to follow what our health professionals tell us to do. And I don't want to put our business at a disadvantage either. So we're working with our team to figure out what we can do to help them as well.
Okay.
And as you know, we also had Goldman Sachs and Legacy give us $10 million in loan money that can be forgivable, loans and grants that can be forgivable. And I did $5.5 million from our city money to help small businesses as well.
Yes.
So we're doing everything we can to help them. Nobody wants to open up more than I do, because I understand that people are losing businesses, people are losing jobs, and I want to do everything that I can to help with that, but I want to make sure that we're not putting people at risk. That's the number one thing, the health and safety of the residents of Baltimore.
Yes, sir. And follow-up question, please. Mayor, as you know, whatever move you make, there are going to be critics, good, bad, or indifferent. How would you, or what grade would you give yourself in how you've handled the COVID-19 experience here in the city and how you're handling it currently? What grade would you give yourself?
Well, it's not about a grade as far as I'm concerned. I think the people of Baltimore need to do their own grade of what I've done. I have went through ransomware and had workarounds on that because I surround myself by some very good, smart, and knowledgeable people, and we were able to keep city government moving along. And now I'm hit with the pandemic. And I think I've done everything humanly possible to keep people safe, to keep people fed, to make sure that our homeless people are put up in hotels and those who are in living conditions where they have multiple families living there, to safely get them out if they have any signs of COVID-19. I kept the city moving forward. So it's up to the citizens to give me a grade or judge me on whether I should have 4 more years. But I hope that they look at how I came into this office and what I had to face and how I have led this city with a steady hand to be where we are today. And we're not as worse as other cities. I think we have led in a number of issues. I know the health commissioner, when she first heard of COVID, what was happening in China, and I'll let her speak to that on her own, she immediately started putting things in place. And in early February, she set up the, I think it's ICF, The ISC, yeah. Well, internal control measures so that we can be in a position to do what we do. We were the first to set up a 24/7 Office of Emergency Management, where we are actually tracking everything that we do, and we're also making sure that we don't get fraudulent PPEs and those kind of things. So I think I've done everything that I could do to keep this city moving in a positive direction. So.
All right, a couple more questions, guys. Please speak up.
Mayor, and maybe the Health Commissioner as well, this afternoon, just a short time ago, Dr. Deborah Birx really cited D.C., Maryland, and Virginia for its high rate, its positivity rate. And then, in particular, mentioned D.C. and Baltimore as the metro areas with very high positivity rates. Why is that rate so high in this city, and to the extent you can answer it, in the state as well? Because it is among the highest in the country.
Well, I think when we think about positivity rate, what we know is that the more testing we're able to perform, that allows us to lower that positivity rate. In countries that had low positivity rates, it's because they did very extensive widespread testing. So I certainly see that the state is trying to move in that direction, and the city has been moving in that direction with our mobile testing sites as well as our community-based testing sites at Pimlico, Clifton Park, and Druid Hill. So our goal is to expand testing, but we'll also be looking at that positivity rate, knowing that it's a great indicator of just how widespread the prevalence of COVID-19 is.
Mayor Young, we've heard you say that you don't want the president to follow through
Say
with
that
his.
again?
We've heard you say that you don't want the president to follow through with his plan to visit Baltimore on Memorial Day. If he chooses to do so, how is the city preparing? I know you've mentioned there's a large price tag. Can you elaborate on what that is?
Well, if the president comes, we have a duty to send our police department there to do security. And I know it's probably going to be a big price tag. He's landing at Fort McHenry. Then from there, he's headed to Anne Arundel County. So I'll let the commissioner come and talk about the price tag. But I can truthfully tell you, we need our officers to be patrolling our streets and making sure that people are following social distancing and that these businesses who should not be open are not open. We don't need to be spending our resources for the president who's coming here under my orders to stay at home. I think he's violating the law. Mr. Commissioner.
So if the president does continue with his plans and come, we have been working with the Secret Service to make sure we have safety protocols and safety plans in place, not just for his trip, but for the entire city, to make sure that, yes, that's a successful trip for the president, but the city remains safe, and we can deploy police resources that are uninterrupted because of that visit. But that does come at a cost.
Thank you. Last question?
One question.
Yes, last question.
Is he visiting, I'm not trying to give his itinerary, but is he visiting anywhere in Baltimore? And the reason being, if he's visiting Anne Arundel County, would it be multiple places to land in Anne Arundel County that would actually adhere to what the mayor wants and not have to do security?
I can't speak for Anne Arundel County. I think he's visiting Fort McHenry because of a Memorial Day celebration or some type of memorial service being held at Fort McHenry.
Thank you.
Thank you.